Aloha, my name is Finn.
My name's Frank. Today we're joined by Mike.
Hello, I'm Mike. Mic'd up Mike.
And we just finished our 6th viewing of Doolittle for the year. Welcome to Viewlittle.
Nobody told me there'd be a dragon!
Let's address the dragon in the room. Finn has returned from vacation. Friend of the pod, Mike, is joining us on vacation.
Staycation.
Finn, you have anything to share about your recent trip?
Well, I ran a half marathon without train. It was okay. It wasn't the best. I did make a Doolittle reference as I was finishing.
What was the Doolittle reference?
For everyone at home, Finn just dabbed twice.
An audio medium. You went for the double dab. Silent double dab.
You can hear it. You can feel it.
I believe Finn is making a reference to Dab Dab the duck.
I'd like to reference the fact that Finn is barefoot in this room for some reason.
That's a Yoshi reference.
Is it?
Because he's a bear. I'm sorry. This has been a great start. But yeah, so that was fun. The other thing is it was very nice and the weather was much warmer. That was probably the biggest takeaway. And now the top of my head is sunburnt, like the very top of it.
What was your time?
Yeah, I think I finished 2 hours and like 28 minutes. No, it's like 26 minutes.
What would you say is a good time for a half marathon?
Well, I was on an 11-minute pace because I didn't train. And I started off 10 minutes and then halfway through,
That sounds like a good time. I feel like if I was running more than 1 mile, any mile is probably going to hit at around 10 to 15 minutes.
And my sister, she was much faster. I think she was at like a 2:06.
Your sister's really into running then, huh?
No, she just actually exercises.
Oh, okay.
Big into X Games and Tough Mudders.
Tough Mudders? You got a Tough Mudder sister?
Yeah,
Ninja
Tough Mudders.
What is it? Does she want to do an Iron Man?
Iron Man is a great segue because Robert Downey Jr. Mike, this is your first viewing of Doolittle.
Yes,
so,
it's the very first one. It's the first movie I've watched in over a year.
The first movie you've watched in over the year. First time viewing Doolittle. You are a friend of the pod, so you have some Viewlittle knowledge. You have been listening to us.
It's true. It's very strange to watch a movie as though, even though I feel like I've been microdosing Doolittle a little bit over the past few weeks just listening to the pod.
So do you have a favorite character or a favorite moment?
My favorite character is the sugar glider by far, because it just had a cute moment that I really genuinely enjoyed.
What was that?
When it says, "I was born for this," or whatever. I did think that was very Baby Yoda. It was very just cute animal antics, which just really hit for me, I guess. So I was a fan of the sugar glider, even though it did like one thing in the whole movie.
Well, that's exactly what they were hoping for with that sugar glider character, because there were 5 pieces of merchandise that Universal made. Minnie the sugar glider, Yoshi the polar bear wearing a hat, and Chi-Chi wearing a backpack, the gorilla. The 3 of those were all 8-inch plushies, so stuffed animals. And then there was a small backpack that mimicked Chi-Chi's backpack, and there was also a hat that mimicked Yoshi's hat.
So Chi-Chi's backpack shows up like once? I can only remember it when he's packing.
It's when he's packing the Leek. For sure. I saw the backpack, did not notice it a second time in the movie.
He's wearing it in the dragon scene. That's the only other scene where he has it, in the cave.
Does he have it when they're like running to save Doolittle and Monty
No,
Verde?
he does not. He's not wearing the backpack.
Yeah,
then.
Everybody's just free-handing dynamite, raiding the castle for some reason. Nobody has a satchel or nothing.
Yoshi does store dynamite somewhere.
Hat, probably. That is the only place he has to store things.
That's a good call.
One thing on that hat, one thing that I noticed this time is he takes it off before he gets in the water every time. And I've only just noticed that.
He does take it off every time.
I just sort of assumed it like phased off of his body. That they just forgot about it.
No, they pay attention to that detail. He's tossing it to the side every time.
And that's just like one thing I love about this movie is the attention to detail.
They have great attention to detail. They certainly do.
So what were your expectations going into this movie?
I expected this movie to be bad because I've listened to you guys say it's bad and it's not very good. So I came in tainted a little bit.
Did it live up to that, or were you surprised?
It was just it wasn't bad enough to be like, oh, this is so funny that this is a bad movie, and it wasn't good enough to be like, oh, I enjoyed that. So it was a very middle of the road flop is what I would sort of label that movie under.
That's appropriate.
I think there are like parts of it that are laughably bad, but I think for the most part it's just bad.
Very specific moments were laughably bad, but I would say just all around the movie was just unimpressive.
What'd you think about the dragon scene then?
The dragon scene actually made me very uncomfortable to watch. Straight away, Dr. Doolittle sort of eschews his doctor's vow to do no harm to his patients and immediately stabs the dragon with a sword.
It doesn't break skin, though. It doesn't
break skin, but did he know that at the time? It seemed like he had only theorized that dragons could possibly exist in papers.
That's a good point.
He did not know what they were made out of, if they were sword resistant.
Sword resistant.
So it was kind of bold of him to go straight to stabbing the dragon when he has such a, don't harm animals. Humans are not good creatures because they never change and always harm animals.
Yeah. Well, he can't change. I think that's the point that it's making. It's very...
he as a human also never changes.
Followed by the dragon almost instantly gives up. Murdering all the people that showed up to take the fruit that it protects, I guess, was the plot point. It is just laying there, and Dr. Doolittle then, unannounced, starts to insert vegetables into its rectum, I guess, if you can even say this on a podcast. Doesn't announce it, doesn't say, I'm going to help you because you're impacted by inserting this vegetable into your rectum.
See, that would be too graphic to put in a kid's movie. They didn't want to have him describe that to children, so they just had him go for it and they imply it.
It's so non-committal, though, because the bit seems to be it's funny to put the leek there, right? That seems to be the bit, that it's funny.
I don't know,
but at the same time, like it's gross and uncomfortable in a way. And why not just have the dragon eat the leek, and then the leek is medicine for constipation.
It is good for that, actually. So, that is a property of leeks.
And then you get your toilet humor out of the way with the dragon having violent diarrhea instead of a big fart.
I don't know if that's better.
If you're going to go for the toilet humor, it just seems like have the dragon eat it and then have like fiery diarrhea or something. And,
oh my god!
The extended scene with the repeated using of the leek to disimpact this dragon is it's uncomfortable. I didn't enjoy it.
In your professional opinion, is a leek good for that?
No. A leek should not be good for that.
I feel like a leek wouldn't have if he's using it to pry, right? I feel like it wouldn't have the strength needed to get armor out of dragon colon.
I don't expect you to get a lot of leverage out of a leek. It's just also, you wouldn't insert anything in there to disimpact somebody. You would either lubricate the area with like an enema, or you would give them medicine that would give them diarrhea. Those are the two options you have to disimpact somebody. You can use your hand, but it's gross.
It is interesting that as a veterinarian, as a doctor, he doesn't take the time to... It's not like they're in a time constraint. They can take the time to set up the facility that as they need to, right? To perform this operation.
The dragon flies back to his manor. Then they get her in the OR.
Everybody knows that constipated dragons cannot fly that far, so...
We don't even know if this dragon can fly.
That's how the last one died. Death by septic impaction.
You mentioned briefly the papers of Doolittle. The title of the paper is Flying with Dragons, Drakes, and Other Dreams by Dr. J. Doolittle, or DJ Doolittle for short. He also wrote another paper called The Potential of Whale Power. These papers are shown by Blair Mudfly, who has a collection of Dr. Doolittle's papers and things. He's obsessed with him.
Well, if you notice, like on that one, The Potential of Whale Power, it's actually just an album and there's a CD in it, and it's by DJ Doolittle.
DJ Doolittle.
DJ
The Potential
Dr.
of Whale
Doolittle.
Power.
The Potential of Whale Power. Whale Power being the band that produces.
It's a great band name.
So one thing we wanted to ask you, you're known in these parts as Medical Mike.
Medical Mike?
Yeah, you are a local expert.
Yeah, I guess I touched on that briefly with the how to treat constipation. The answer is not leaks at all.
The answer is not at all.
It's not leaks.
We got a code red. Code red.
Yeah, so the scene with surgery in it. So straight away, a squirrel is injured by a shotgun, and he's taken for heart surgery. The surgical theater looked good as like a period piece. It was just basically cloth drapes, rudimentary surgical instruments. You didn't get to see any of the actual surgery, which I get because it would be gory and gross.
Right.
Code red is not the term for somebody who's about to fatally pass away. It's actually code blue.
Except this movie was sponsored by Mountain Dew.
Yes,
So.
I did find it hilarious, the thought that a code red means one of the animals goes to fetch a crate of code red.
We got a code red! Code red!
And then if it was ingenious for Dr. Doolittle to pour code red directly to the squirrel's ventricle to revive it. The thought of that did cross my mind, and that would be a bold choice, but I would have really liked it.
It would have, Mountain Dew probably, the Pepsi sponsorship, they would have seen returns from that one, for sure.
Yeah.
They absolutely would have.
That's huge.
I also like the idea of the dog saying that's ingenious, but every time he says that, the patient dies. Because he's trying new ground. He's like,
hey, I mean, some treatments are experimental. Medical grade code red is in phase 3 of its clinical trials. It's almost ready for
pour it straight on the heart.
pour it directly on the heart. Has an immediate adrenaline rush. Capable of restoring the heartbeat of a squirrel. First impressions of the movie, I did like the opening animated sequence. I heard you guys say that you thought it looked a little weird. I'm almost certain it's done in Blender, which is just a mix of 3D modeling and 2D drawing.
Yeah, I think that's why Joe wasn't a big fan of it, but I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I'm sure that it was like a rush job or something, but
yeah, I think that's the thing. Is like it's still there's like some jarring sequences, like when Lily gives like the ring to Polly. There's like a weird face spasm, and that looks really bad, but. Yeah, I don't think that style's the best, but it's whatever. I don't think it's the worst part of the movie. I don't think it's really egregious or anything.
Absolutely not the worst part of the movie. The dragon sequence was the worst part of the movie by far.
That's a hot take.
At least.
I don't think that's a hot take. I think that's... Well, I don't know. Let's see. The part where Finn always falls asleep.
Ooh, yes.
Literally every single time.
He came back from vacation. He's got sunburn. He's sleeping on the couch.
I was asleep for literally a minute.
I'm sure that at this point, Doolittle has almost a sedative effect on you, where it's just like, I'm watching Doolittle again. It's time to zone out.
I don't know why. It's right at the scene before the tiger comes in.
It's always the same spot.
Yeah. It really is, yeah.
I have a question. Why isn't the whole movie animated?
You know what? That is a great question. And if any of you go on YouTube and you type in Doolittle opening scene 2020 and you bring up the Doolittle opening scene and you watch it, but instead of watching it, you scroll down to the comments and you read the comments, a lot of them are saying, why isn't the whole movie like this? And I tend to agree with them. I think that the movie would have been better if it was just animated.
It feels animated. And I don't know. I'm sure it's wildly expensive to do like a feature-length animated film. But there's also a lot of CGI because of all the talking animals. Mm-hmm. So the movie's almost animated anyway. It's just animated in a different way. So just animate it all like the opening sequence. And at least like then it's more of like a stylistic choice. It doesn't look as goofy.
Yeah.
A lot of the CGI looked goofy and like amateurish.
See, I think the reason, because I think you're right about Blender. I think it's really cheap. And I think they needed to bridge that gap for the opening. So they like... realized they couldn't do reshoots, so the cheaper option was just to like quickly animate it. I don't know how well that'd sustain the whole movie, but maybe if they went into it with the intent of animating it the whole time, I'm sure it would be better.
Yeah, I mean the whole movie premise is very Disney. It's very like Alice in Wonderland. They went live action, but the colors are like saturated. The whole thing is in CGI. Like reads like an animated movie. I feel like it would have done better as an animated movie. This is like a movie you put on for like a 6 or 8 year old.
Yeah, but it's too weird.
It is. That's the thing is like if they would have made that type of movie, it would have made total sense. But like it's just a weird mix of strange references, toilet humor jokes that are just. Is suitable for no one because of that. It ends up being suitable for no one because they went all over the place with like the content of the film.
Michael, you said something sort of interesting. You thought that Chi-Chi was being brought up to be like the heir apparent of Doolittle in the OR?
Yeah, there is Dab Dab the duck. It sort of reads as like a nurse or secretary character, maybe both, because nurses operate as both in like a doctor's office, so that would make sense. The dog sort of reads as like a pharmacist because it seems more knowledgeable on the sense of drugs or active ingredients that may or may not be poisonous. I theorized that the gorilla was a resident in training, as he seems to be the smartest from playing chess with Doolittle. And he also has fingers, so he's the only animal other than the capuchin monkeys that have fingers sufficient to operate the surgical instruments.
Those two monkeys, what are their names?
Elliot and Essay.
Elliot and Essay. They are the only animals that don't get a voice. The entire movie, they just make monkey noises.
They do drink out of a coconut through a straw, though.
That's true.
And it's very human.
And they are lawyers.
They never get to speak aloud. They
only speak in court whenever they're defending Doolittle's malpractice. Such as, see also Leek inserted into Dragon.
Actually, there is precedent for pouring code red directly on the squirrel's heart.
Studies have shown that the efficacy of pouring code red directly into directly into the ventricle has shown a success rate of 95% or higher.
And actually, they're barristers. They're not lawyers.
Oh, wow.
What is a barrister?
It's just
Educate
a UK
me.
lawyer.
Oh, a UK lawyer?
That's basically
So, like,
the
they
same.
know Hogwarts spells?
Yes. What else did you write down in your notes?
Another reason this sort of reads as like an animated animal movie for children is the early depiction of hunters, and the like that is classic Bambi. You know, that is Elmer Fudd. That is Fox and the Hound. Just hunters are dumb out in the woods looking to shoot anything. The one thing I thought was hilarious was they sent a human to flush the birds out, you know, in the line of fire of that gun. And then, of course, you know, Stubbins injures a squirrel accidentally.
That would be really funny. Instead of Stubbins shooting the squirrel, he shoots his cousin.
And his cousin has the same line. Oh, he hit something this time.
Me. Oh, good plan, Dad.
We gotta help him. And his dad hands him a knife.
There's no sense to let an animal be suffering.
Which would be true. Like, that is actually, you know, a good point. Actually, but it's viewed as cruel. But, you know, unbeknownst to them, they are on the land of a magical medical animal doctor that could pour code red directly into his ventricle and just bring him back to life. They didn't know he had code red available to him.
We got a code red.
I think that is a good point, is that his uncle is seen as like barbaric, not necessarily like cruel or anything, but like a simpleton.
He's definitely portrayed as a simpleton.
Yeah. And he's doing the right thing there, where it's like, I think he should have made Stubbins be the dog in that situation, because
there is sort of like a aristocracy versus peasantry type division going there, because you even have Doolittle dropping the line to Stubbins whenever he wants him to go. He says, "Go back to whatever burrow you crawled out of."
Yeah.
So there's sort of like
Doolittle himself is clearly sees him as superior and more intelligent than like the local town folk.
Yeah.
Even though he is dirty and hangs out with animals like all day, and you just know,
really smart animals, though.
No, really smart animals. But you know, do they know how to use toilets?
They must be trained pretty well, I think.
Yeah, I mean, the mice can use elevators.
The mice can use elevators and trains.
They're
operating trains,
and automobiles. But yeah, he hangs out in like an abandoned mansion with all these animals, yet the townsfolk are the one who are uncivilized, and like he looks like he hasn't showered in a year. But it's the townfolk who just rolled in that are like the uncivilized.
Well, he's educated. He's educated and he's nature friendly.
In the time period of the film we've arrived at is 1854, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Wild to think that anybody would be like, yeah, I'm going to be an animal doctor. Like, you know, humans is not my specialty. We're going to use the rudimentary medicine we have on animals.
Well, Dr. Doodle is just a doctor.
It's true.
Because he does treat the queen, and if he is strictly a veterinarian...
But he would not have treated the queen if it were up to him. He did not want to go and treat the queen.
Right, that's because he's anti-monarchy.
and human, it seems. At the start of the film, he starts off as like in opposition to just the
He
human
must
presence.
have been. I think he must have been different before Lily died.
And Lily died at the hands of what?
A storm.
Just a storm.
Just a storm.
There was
yeah.
no like
no dark magic.
no dark magic, no
that's what I
villain
was-
character who murdered her in cold blood or
Whenever
something.
I first watched it, I was thinking that like the power of the island wouldn't want it to be found or something like that. There's going to be something related to that, but no, it's just a storm.
Well, so what I'm pretty sure that happens is that the dragon's husband
Oh,
attacks the boat, kills her, and then she
that-
makes him constipated.
that might
He
have been
dies
more
on the way
interesting.
back.
Yeah, it does not get into, other than we know the husband of the dragon who currently resides at Eden Island is perished. We don't get to know why, how. The whole dragon sequence felt so rushed that
yeah, I think because of all the reshoots and everything is how they came up with that conclusion.
yeah,
I
it was
think
so
it was rushed.
so nothing. It was immediately into fecal disimpaction.
Yeah.
Like no talking, no nothing.
And Stubbins has nothing to do in that scene at all.
And
is pretty funny.
Mudworm doesn't do
Mudfly.
any
Mudfly.
Mudfly, like the
Mudfly.
Germans.
Mudfly.
With an omelet.
Mudfly falls in a hole, does not reappear, other than to like, he falls in a hole and does not come back.
That's for the sequel.
Yeah, because
We'll see.
No,
The
you want,
unlikely successor to Doolittle is Doctor.
well, you want to hear what the sequel is?
Go on.
So this is a Universal movie, and he falls into a hole with a bunch of bats. So this movie was originally a part of the Dark Universe.
Of course it was.
And
That's
this
true.
is the sequel to Dracula Untold. There's going to be a tie in there. Where Mudfly
Mudfly
returns
as Dracula.
They have invited the magical creatures aspect of it. So if there's dragons, I mean, who's to say? There could be vampires as well.
I don't remember Doolittle writing a paper on
He
vampires,
didn't, but who's to say? Other dreams.
though. Other dreams.
Other dreams?
That's true. Dragons, drakes, and other dreams.
Very non-specific.
But also, a movie that is very near and dear to all of us, Morbius, there's like a ton of bats like flying around them. And that was the imagery I got from it. It was very Morbius.
I've never seen Morbius, so I'll have to
watch
take your word for
Morbius.
it.
Yeah, in fact, we should watch it right now. Get the pod.
We're not going to do that. Instead, since today is the vacation special, we're going to talk a little bit about locations. The locations of this movie. Are there any locations that stand out to you?
Monteverdi. Just that, really. Maybe the cave.
Those were both done on studio soundstages.
Do you know, like, specifically where?
In London. So the main locations in the movie, this comes from an article by Susanna Edelbaum. She wrote Building Doolittle's Many Worlds of Magic Across England. This is from January 21st of 2020. It was on the credits. Stephen Gagin and his crew, they looked at hundreds of houses apparently across England, and they needed one that had a large garden that would allow a bunch of animals to come and go and live there. That was like their one requirement. So they found a place called Cothay Manor in Somerset, which is visitable. If anybody wants to go visit the locations of Doolittle, they can check this one out. It's a 40-acre grounds. It has cottages, it has outbuildings, it has stables, and it has 12 acres of gardens, which is what you see Stubbins running through in the movie. And it was built in 1480, so it's a very old historical manor.
All right. So is it the same house exactly? Like exterior wise?
Some of the exteriors are the same. And the manor that they add on all of the turrets and towers and things to, the base structure is the same as Cothay Manor.
Okay, so that's like just to show he's like an explorer, is all the other stuff they just add on post.
The town that Stubbins runs through, that was all built from scratch because they couldn't de-age 21st century locations in a satisfactory way. So it was easier to do it that way. Buckingham Palace, we've mentioned before. The interior of the palace itself was created by Stephen Gagin and production designer Dominic Watkins, but the exteriors are Blenheim Palace. They needed something smaller because this is from Stephen Gagin's film production notes. Buckingham Palace, as we know it, wasn't built at the time of the film, or maybe it was being moved. So it wasn't to the scale and magnificence of the palace that would have been there. A couple other locations. There's a big set piece on the suspension bridge. What they used was the Menai Suspension Bridge in Wales. This particular bridge was completed in 1826, and in the movie it's shown as uncompleted, so we have to assume that it was probably a different bridge, because that would put the movie in the wrong time period. The Water Lily, which is the boat, and Monteverde, Those are all sound stages at Shepperton Studios in Surrey. And the vast majority of it was shot in England, but one location that wasn't was Downey's Malibu Mini Zoo. He and his wife, Susan, own a real-life zoo. They have rescue animals there, which include alpacas, chickens, goats, pigs, cows, and cats. Do you know when this was used in the movie?
I think I do. The scene with Yoshi and Plimpton.
Well, no, because
that looked real. That looked like they actually walked outside of a cottage and were in somebody's yard.
right, but that could be at the house.
I think that's one of the outbuildings at the Cothay Manor.
Do you have it written down?
I have a guess where it is. At the end, they're showing all the animals lined up to go in to see Doolittle.
Right.
There's like a cow walking and some other animals lined up. That's the only one that makes sense to me that it could be.
I do recall that.
From them.
So do I understand this correctly that Robert Downey Jr. owns a real zoo?
He owns
where he has
a
what
mini
animals?
zoo is what it's called.
Sounds like a petting zoo.
He has
because it seems like it mostly has domestic farm animals.
he has alpacas, chickens, goats, pigs, cows, and cats. And in case you're curious, this article also mentioned that if he could communicate to one animal, he would pick out a kitten. And here's his reasoning.
There are few things cuter than a kitten. And if I could speak to a kitten, I'd say, how can I be as cute as you? And I'd expect a damn answer, too.
Yeah, that brings me to my next point. I did not like the Robert Downey Jr. voice the entire time in the movie. It felt goofy the entire time, and it never felt right. He should have just done like a basic English accent. It was Jack Sparrow-y. It was bad.
Yeah, I agree. His accent's just bad. I think everyone really agrees on that.
Somebody should have told him just don't do it.
Not everybody agrees
so you
on
looked
that.
this up. So I also looked this up because I read a bunch of reviews on this, and a lot of the people defending the accent agree it's bad.
The reviews that are defending him are mostly Welsh people who like Robert Downey Jr. before watching the movie.
Right. And they're mostly like
Iron Man sympathizers.
Exactly. Iron Man sympathizers.
Part of it is like Welsh accents almost never make it to like big movies.
The fact that he even tried is worthy of celebrating.
So it was mostly like it was a bold choice, and roughly 20% of it was good. So we should just be happy he tried. And I mean, I guess that's fair, but also it's bad, and I don't think he should have tried.
He was the only one in the movie that talked like that. The only one.
Yeah, it is also weird that none of the animals had to put on accents or...
It's sort of interesting that Stubbins doesn't have...
He has a British accent.
Well, he has a British accent, but he doesn't have like a Welsh...
His family had like a Cockney accent, and he had a posh accent.
It's possible that Doolittle's manor isn't... in Wales, I guess.
Yeah, well, because it's like really close to the Queen, because they arrived same day.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, that's something that always bothers me is like you mentioned at the beginning. How did Lady Rose how'd she get in there?
She's a child government agent. So for whatever reason, she is an infiltrator of manners of people to give them, I don't know, government summons.
Well,
so they come to see the Queen.
She crawled over the wall.
I have a question. Who is Lady Rose?
Lady Rose is a government agent. She is basically a handmaiden to the Queen.
Yeah.
What
just
is
does
your
what the
take?
Queen
Is
asks.
she her daughter, her niece? Like, is she going to inherit the throne? What was your read on it?
This is a servant's daughter who is just made to be a handmaiden. She's from a select group of servants who just become a handmaiden.
See that,
and like the right hand personal assistant to the Queen. That's how
to
her
me that
character
makes the
reads.
most sense too. But
then there's that line.
It's just
that's so confusing.
Who is Lady Rose?
Who is Lady Rose? And why is she a lady? If she
Lady and Lord just is a status of like nobility.
Do you think they were trying to do like an episode 1 Star Wars Queen Amidala Padme?
That's what I think it is.
Do you think they were trying to kind of do?
So you think that Lady Rose is the queen?
She's
the queen.
A stunt. Oh, you think it's a switcheroo?
It could be a switcheroo.
That does not make sense in the context of poisoning.
Well, maybe.
Well, he didn't know that.
Yeah, it's such a good switcheroo that nobody knows.
No, I don't agree. I'm sorry, but I just can't. I can't. Like an assassination plot when you're not sure who the queen is. It's just like literally any female in the castle could be Lady Rose or the Queen, and you You're blind firing nightshade bullets into whoever happens to be around.
Have you guys found it odd that there's an epidemic of nightshade poisoning in the palace?
No, I think famously the queen was the only one getting poisoned.
Yep. That seems to be the case.
Very strange choice to not make the leeches part of it somehow.
Have Dr. Dolittle speak to the leeches or something. That would have been really funny, actually.
Mudfly was a terrible villain. Not imposing, not threatening, incompetent.
I think his performance is really funny.
He wasn't even the one poisoning the queen. He was doing leech therapy on her and just, conspiring to kill her. But he was the worst villain.
It's implied that he poisoned the queen because Doodle asked him, like, what'd you get for poisoning the queen?
Here's the thing. Lord Badgley is the one who still has the vial of poison. Why does he still have the vial of poison?
Yeah.
That's a horrible movie filler to just have him have the poison on him.
They really didn't wash their clothes as often back then. So he's been wearing the same outfit.
It was in his pocket for so long.
He's been wearing the same outfit for 30 days. And he doesn't empty the pocket until after.
Outfits like that, they have a bunch of unnecessary adornments on them, probably unnecessary pockets. So I bet it's very easy
He probably just forgot which pocket it was in.
Yeah, it's very easy to forget.
Also, how would Sticks know that there is a vial in there? Unless he took it out to, like, poison her again.
I don't have the answer to that because it's not really a fleshed out plot point. It's basically, I left my CIA bug in the room.
Maybe
and that's what he does. He bugs the room. He literally bugs the room. That's the joke. And he finds out that he had been poisoning her or continuing to dose her with nightshade, or I guess not dosing her high enough to immediately kill her.
But if Lady Rose was the only one who prepared food for her, then no one else would be able to poison her. And
that child
Jip was
does
right there
not
too.
know how to cook.
That was always
the child
been
does
my
not cook
thing.
the food.
She's trained as a handmaiden of the queen, so she and an assassin.
She is the queen.
She is the queen.
She is the queen.
The queen.
She's making her own food.
She goes over to
She poisoned herself, actually.
to
get Doodle
queen
out of
in
this.
air quotes, and she's like, hey, you're on your own. I can't cook for you. I'm the queen.
I have something that I was thinking about, actually. So Polly, it seems like she's camping these woods to find an injured animal so that she can get Doolittle his mojo back, right? Because Doolittle is in a funk. He's been in a funk for 7 years. And along comes this boy with an injured squirrel. And Polly's like, an opportunity. So I think that it's possible Polly is the real mastermind behind everything. And maybe she was poisoning the queen to get Doolittle to go.
I immediately don't agree with you because Lady Rose had the summons to the palace and she did not know that the queen was even in danger before Lady Rose showed up.
Yeah, well, she feigned it. I'm in total agreement with Frank on this.
Polly is the evil mastermind pulling the puppet strings.
Absolutely not.
And also, I think that she killed Lily, his wife.
She killed Lily.
Okay. All right.
Oh.
Jealousy. The parrot reads as the mom of Doolittle, so maybe she, like the dad of Lily, was not a fan of Lily. The two parents of the two main characters
really didn't like Doolittle.
Resented the other's child and did away with them. Polly, sentencing Lily to a violent death at sea, then his dad wanting to feed his tiger with Doolittle.
This is some elaborate theories, some elaborate fin fiction, dare I say?
Oh, well, it's time for our most favorite section of the show, fin fiction. So last week I posed this question to Frank. You probably noticed there's a bunch of animals that just appeared to say jokes. My question for you is, if you can insert an animal into any scene and give it one line, what animal would it be? What would your line be?
Ooh, that is a hard question. I think I mentioned this while we were watching the movie. I wanted to insert an armadillo into the naval confrontation scene, and I wanted the armadillo to be fired onto the enemy ship specifically to give them leprosy. So some sort of leprosy-based pun.
Okay, you hit me with it. What's your...
Man, I just don't know any jokes about leprosy. It's not that funny of a disease. So
That's the line. Run with it.
Nobody told me there would be leprosy.
I think right before he gets fired, he goes, "This is gonna hurt."
Yeah.
This is gonna hurt.
As he collides with a Mudfly. And then when Mudfly returns in the dragon den scene,
Mudfly.
I'm calling the main villain of the movie a different name each time I bring him up.
His element keeps shifting.
He keeps transmuting
Firefly
into a different
Woodfly,
animal, mudworm.
Mudworm.
He's metamorphosizing. Then when Mudfly returns in the dragon den, he could be all like blotchy and diseased and like, I don't know, look like a grosser villain. And once the armadillo's giving him leprosy, so that's my move, armadillo.
Is that a confirmed, or armadillos confirmed spreaders of leprosy, or is that an urban legend?
I mean, I would believe it, but I honestly don't know. Judging from where armadillos are like in the world, I don't think they would be.
There are armadillos in Missouri. I've seen one.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, they're not really in places that I feel like got a lot of leprosy.
I believe I could be wrong. I believe armadillos circulate leprosy amongst themselves. They are not afflicted by it because it's like an endemic disease to their species, and they don't give it to other animals.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it.
I think an animal would have to eat an armadillo to get it from them.
That seems to be the case. Scientists seem to believe that we actually transmitted leprosy to them 400 to 500 years ago.
That makes
And
more sense.
Today, 20% of armadillo populations are thought to be infected with it.
It's a big L for for the armadillos. A big L for leprosy.
What? I mean, because like bats have like a similar thing where the reason why they're such a good vector for diseases is their metabolism like keeps diseases from affecting them. So you just kind of store them up and they're perfectly fine. And
Bats, another animal that would be a great addition to this movie for a one-liner pun.
they are in the movie.
Are they?
Yeah,
I
at the
missed
very
it.
end.
With
Mudfly.
when Blair falls into the hole in the cave,
Yes.
he thinks he can speak to the bats. He's chittering to them.
Well, he
Hey,
does.
help me get
yeah,
out of here.
yeah.
Get me out of here.
And then they swarm into his mouth and he's like,
And he becomes Dracula.
revenge.
He gets morbed.
Well, for my fan fiction, this is a visual element again, which I know translates great on podcasts.
Yeah,
But
we'll scan it in. Don't worry.
I drew this bee with a cowboy hat and a mustache.
Are you? Is this the one that's saying "back off, kid"?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In a Texas accent, I imagine.
Back off, kid. This ain't no rodeo.
Famously, animals in Doolittle are protected if they do wear hats.
They
So
are.
that does fit the narrative that as long as an animal is wearing a hat, you shouldn't
They're
shoot
sentient.
it. They're
They're-
sentient and you shouldn't shoot it. They can vote.
So speaking of like one-note animals, there was one animal in particular that its joke sucks. It's the fly. So there's a scene where Mudfly, he tries to kill a fly and survives. And it's like, I'm the chosen one that flies out the window. Well, that brings us into our new segment. I'm calling this one Review Little, and we're just going to review a different movie based around the fly.
Based around the fly.
So, the other day I watched a movie called Iga, and I know you've watched it.
Yes, also known as Maki.
Yeah, and that because Iga is
Telugu.
yeah, and then Maki must be Hindi for fly.
Yeah, I believe that's true.
And I watched that yesterday actually.
I love Maki. It is a great movie.
And what I was thinking, what if that fly got revenge on Mudfly? That was like the
Oh, okay. I see what you're doing. So you're building the chosen one fly that survives. Wait a minute. Are you saying that?
I just want the fly to get
I
revenge
believe
on Mudfly.
Finn is supposing that this fly
Is a person reborn?
He's trying
Yeah.
to insert Maki into the Doolittle EU.
That's what I want. Yes.
Okay. So all of the animals in Doolittle are reborn people.
Yes, and they all want revenge.
I do like the idea of all the animals being reborn people, and that's why they're smarter than other animals, and there's like a psychic link that you can talk to them.
Anyway, back to Iga. The movie rocks. Everyone should watch it. And yeah, I just thought it would be great if there were high-speed shots of a fly beating up Mudfly, or just like mentally torturing him for like days on end.
I'm sorry. Your review of the movie Maki is that I believe it should be connected to the Doolittle universe, and Maki as that character from a different film should attack Mudfly at some point in the movie.
Really? I just saw the fly scene, and I'm just like, how cool would it be if that scene just tormented Mudfly for the next, like, 2 weeks?
So go watch Maki because Finn believes it should be part of the Doolittle universe.
Okay, so, like, the plot of Maki is there's, like, 2 men and, like, the love interest, and this guy has, like, unrequited love for the woman, and she is, like, playing hard to get. Eventually, they fall in love, but there's a rich, evil man who falls in love with her. For people at home, Iga is on Netflix. RRR is on Netflix. Bahubali Part 1 and 2 on Netflix. You should go watch all of those.
But you really should go watch Maki because it should be part of the Doolittle universe.
Yes, that is true. You should definitely go watch it. I watched it the other day and I want to talk about it. And there's a fly in this movie. So there's like a loose connection. And really, I just want
just about as loose as it can get. Yes, you can't tie this to Doolittle through like a fly through line. The movies can be considered related.
Well, Doolittle, you don't know this, but Stubbins actually is a micro artist.
Dragons, drakes, and other dreams.
Well, I'm sorry I put this all off the rails. This is a different angle now. This is no longer. We're at the new segment that will never happen again until I want to rant about a different movie. So the leak, you mentioned this during the movie, is like in the beginning, Chi-Chi's scene packing up the leak, and you said Chekhov's gun.
Chekhov's gun, right? Chekhov's leak. You know, if you introduce a plot point in the beginning of the movie, it better have a payoff at the end. Textbook, really. They kept calling the leak a forceps.
Yes, it is a forceps.
That's a joke. Yeah.
I don't get
it's
that.
Not a joke. It is a forceps.
No, it is not. He had legitimate forceps. I saw him do surgery on a squirrel.
Yeah, but what does he pull things out of the dragon with? Forceps.
Question:
True.
which is better to use? In that?
Real forceps is the answer. Or just your hand. Like, I gotta imagine the geometry is such that your arm would be sufficient.
That would have been a funnier scene if he's like, okay, and then rolls up his sleeves and just dives in.
Funnier, more accurate if he just had a big glove, like, fetch me my big glove, and then, you know, dramatically snaps the glove on, reaches in, does his doctorly dues, and saves the dragon.
But then you don't have all the leak through line.
Yes, but the leak through line for me was bad. So that's why I'm okay with throwing it right in the garbage.
John Doodle stands up and says, I'm the national symbol of Wales, and dives headfirst.
I don't think he needs to be like bored by the dragon. He goes back to the ship and gets the scuba suit.
Chi-Chi's there holding his legs.
No, they hold on to the rope, and Chi-Chi, this time he doesn't let go of the rope.
This time, don't let go of the
rope. I'm not gonna let you down, Doc.
And redemption for multiple characters who led him to almost die and perish in the same way that Lily did.
What else do you have written down, Frank?
The other thing that I have here, speaking about both animals wearing things, being sentient beings that are safe, and animal inserts that are sort of strange and don't really belong. The wolf. The wolf he's wearing a bandana scarf. He's sort of like Balto, I suppose.
I did not clock the wolf. Where was the wolf at?
There's the shot that it's like going the first time you arrive at Monteverde. It's like going through the streets of the city, and it shows the monkeys, and it shows all the people interacting with animals through the street.
Okay.
And there's a wolf that's walking along, and he turns and looks to the camera and he nods. He appears again whenever they're feasting and Stubbins is sitting there beside King Razuli. The wolf is one of the guests walking around the table.
See, I knew you were going to say that because I have written down, that wolf is cool.
Yeah. He is cool.
My notes say that wolf is cool.
He's a cool wolf.
The orangutan, did it feel like it came out of nowhere for anybody? Like, I was not introduced to him. He just had all of a sudden a close-up shot where dancing or something. What was the
I have a
orangutan's deal?
dancing fever that can't be cured. Something like that, right?
I guess he was the comedic relief for when Dr. Doodle said, "I'm done. I'm taking new patients."
Whenever Doolittle does that, though, he's dumb because this island that's ruled by King Razuli, who wants to kill him, is the place where he's decided to stay. That doesn't make sense.
It was a bluff.
No, because like the actual line in the movie was probably originally like, "I'm resigned to death."
No. I have Stubbins is really strong written down because the physics of the rope scene. We're on the boat and Doolittle is diving to attach the whale. Chi-Chi lets it go and Stubbins is the one who runs and catches the rope to save Doolittle because he's in the dive suit in the water.
Heavier than him.
The dive suit's probably
Easily.
like 200 pounds.
It's meant to make you sink in the water.
It has rocks attached to it. Anyway, Stubbins is able to grab the rope and continue holding on to it for a large period of time until Yoshi can get up on the ship and help him.
And also, not only that, he catches it at the end of the rope, and there's no like slide. It just like sticks to his hands, and he got him.
Yeah, and then he's heaving it because by the time Yoshi gets there, there's a stretch of rope for him to grab onto.
And I think that one thing that should be said is that the suit is in water, so I feel like he would be able to like hold it if they weren't moving
it's not straight
25
up and
miles
down.
They're
per
moving
hour.
17 miles per hour. It's a whale.
As a whale, 17 miles per hour.
I suppose because he's in water, he would be lighter and easier to hold on to.
But then Doolittle himself is super strong because he's able to hoist himself. Like Chi-Chi pulling the rope up makes sense because gorillas are insanely strong. But like Robert Downey Jr. pulling himself out, wearing the dive suit, climbing up the side of the ship, that doesn't seem very logical.
Robert Downey Jr. only plays superheroes.
That's true.
He only plays superheroes. Sherlock, Doolittle, Iron Man, they're all superheroes. He has the power to talk to animals. He can toss a dive suit helmet up from the water. Like standing on nothing is just able to throw that dive suit helmet up there. And Sherlock, he's all like, it's not just enough for him to be like super smart. He's got to be like crippled shoulder, weak knees. And then he does some action sequence where he punches somebody. Like every movie that Robert Downey Jr. is in, he is a superhero in some capacity.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the thing where like fiction sometimes mirrors real life.
Because he is a superhero in real life as well. As we know, because he has a mini zoo.
That's right. One thing we should go to now is we watched one of the featurettes.
We did watch one of the featurettes. It was called
Talk to Animals. It was called Talk to Animals. That's what I've written down.
Was it?
It was talking to animals.
It might be Talking to Animals.
Or talking with animals.
It was called Talking to Animals. It was called Talk to Animals. It was called Talking with Animals. Right, now we're covered.
His name was Wormwood. His name was Mudfly.
You cannot cut that out. Now we're covered.
Now we're covered. We got it all.
Let me go ahead and ADR all the mistakes that I made referring to Mudfly. I almost called him Mudfly again.
So it was just like going over the cast and the animals they play.
Yeah, it wasn't a very good extended featurette. I'm kind of disappointed in it.
So I have some things written down. None of
Octavia Spencer, who plays Dab Dab.
None of Rami Malek's lines. None of Camille Nanjiani's lines. None of John Cena's lines. None of Craig Robinson's line. And none of Ralph Fiennes' lines that were featured in the featurette, like spoken while they were in the studio, actually made it into the movie.
It's possible that all of the behind-the-scenes footage that we see from the sequence was recorded with the original cut of the movie.
Right.
I have a feeling that's probably the case. And whenever they did reshoots, they weren't filming behind-the-scenes footage anymore.
And then on a counterpoint is Tom Holland and Selena Gomez. Tom Holland's lines aren't even showed. He's just shown in the studio like, oh, like...
The way that studio was set up, though, I'm pretty sure that when they're recording, they can't have people walking around in the recording space.
Right.
And it looked like it was all handheld and recorded between takes.
Yeah.
So I have a feeling that the actual recording, the people who were doing the behind the scenes had to leave the room.
Okay, and then, but Selena Gomez, you do see her do a line, and it's in the movie. So I have a suspicion that she was added afterwards.
I bet that her sequence was from the original.
It could be, but it is weird. Like all those lines. It's weird that they didn't show him saying any of the lines that were then shown to be in the movie.
I bet you they just recorded lines, generic lines for these animals to say, like in mass, and just went one right after the other. And they're like, okay, well, this one worked out. This one fits for this part of the film.
Yeah, that's
probably true, but it seems weird to have that approach to it.
But like each film, each scene in the movie where there's just like an animal and like a few seconds for them to say something, like oftentimes what they say is not super relevant to what's going on.
So
like that friendship bro, that's friendship bro, feels like it came out of nowhere, like a vacuum.
Yeah, it all
not within context of the actual scene that's around it.
I didn't write down the lines, but I remember John Cena's lines. They weren't like as bro focused, right? He was like, I'm a polar bear and I'm always cold. They were stuff like that. Like they were less like punchliney. So I think those were all probably more likely to be in the original cut.
Yeah, that's probably definitely true.
And then they had to redo everything to be like joke, joke, joke.
Why is the polar bear always cold?
Because that's a funny thing. It's ironic.
I guess. It doesn't make any
he doesn't
sense.
know what irony is.
I don't know what irony means. Dr. Doolittle, I don't know what irony means.
Dr. Dad Little.
Irony is when the woman you love dies.
Oh, chills.
And there's nothing you can do about it.
No, it's
I
not.
still don't understand what irony is, Mr. Doolittle.
Sorry.
Dr. Dad Little.
I think this movie would have been better if Stubbins was his son.
I think it has residuals of him being the son in it. And,
100%.
like that's the problem.
The Monteverdi sequence probably being the most
Why
obvious.
is he not the son? I guess it doesn't make sense for him to randomly stumble onto the manor of Dr. Doolittle if he's the son.
Yeah.
He should be searching for his father if that's the case.
I think the original cut was probably like Stubbins, after Lily died, was sent to go be raised by his uncle and aunt or something.
My thing is, I think all of that, the uncle scene and the going in, like with the squirrel, I think that's all reshoots.
Yeah,
I don't think any of that was in the original story because Craig Robinson was originally playing the mouse, and his lines in the featurette were much, much different than just joke, joke, joke as Kevin.
In the featurette, they said that Craig Robinson is a real scene stealer.
And he really didn't steal a
He
single
stole
scene.
no scenes.
Except the time where
That's
he's
Daryl?
like,
Daryl from The Office.
From The Office.
I'm too beautiful to die.
Said four lines in the whole film.
Yeah, it's mostly just updating the log to give transitions.
That Office money has to have run dry by now. So he's got to get something from somewhere.
I mean, he hasn't been in many great shows and movies since then.
I think that pretty much everyone who was on The Office, that was their peak, right? So
What's his name?
You could argue that John Krasinski has had other things. Like he did A Quiet
Jim.
Place,
John
which was
Krasinski,
huge.
he's reinvented himself into a CIA plant, but
That whole Jack Ryan nonsense, nobody watches that.
well,
People watch reruns of The Office more than they watch Jack Ryan.
Right, but The Quiet Place.
A Quiet Place was legitimately like everybody went and saw that.
And there's Quiet Place Part 2.
Well, he's dead in that one,
Oh, yeah. He directed it, though.
supposedly.
I have my own segment which I prepared for you guys.
Yes, I want to hear it.
I want to ask you guys a question.
Okay.
I'll answer it.
Did Dr. Doolittle do a doo-doo?
Dr. Doolittle, do a little doo-doo.
Hey, let me tell you something, Mike.
Dude,
I'm
I'll
gonna
be-
come over there. I'm gonna take off your lucky foot. It's gonna be mine.
I'll be tap dancing on your grave when I'm done with you.
This segment is over.
That was a very good
very
segment.
discreet segment. It only lasts a few.
What do you call that segment? What would you call that segment?
Dick Doctor. It's actually very hard to say. Did Dr. Doolittle do a doo-doo?
Did Dr. Doolittle do a little doo-doo?
Finn, I want you to say, did Dr. Doolittle do a little doo-doo as many times as you can without making a mistake.
Did Dr. Doolittle do a little doo-doo? Did Dr. Doolittle do a little doo-doo? Did Dr. Doolittle do a little doo-doo?
Okay, I made you laugh, so that's actually my mistake.
But in fairness, I've said that 1,000 times.
I bet.
He's at least said it like 75 times probably, because I think every time we watch it, every time he's watched it, I believe he repeats that line. So
That was right.
It's so sad, though, that it happens to happen so close to in proximity to That absolutely god awful Godfather reference. I wrote that down. It was just like, oi, not good. I hated the Dragonfly. Dragonfly was a bad character. I would take him out of the movie immediately.
That's James for you.
I think that's a good litmus test for character. Like, if you watch the movie with us and you're like, so let's talk about James, good guy. Like, you're clearly not a good person.
He's written to be unlikable, but he's also not funny or, like, important, I guess.
They really should have amped up his perviness. He should have just been
He really just
already.
pervs immediately on the parrot, and then it doesn't come up again. But
I like what you did with your tail feathers. That's the line.
James is the worst.
he should have, it woke up the lions, flown out of the room, alerted the parrot or whatever to the situation, out of the movie. Doesn't come back.
Let me talk to her. Dragon to dragon.
Yeah, that sucked.
He does get lit on fire, though.
He should have been dead. Dead. Very, dead as dead can be.
See, that would have been a good time to amp up the comedy.
Just kill James.
He gets
Yeah.
lit on fire, and then Yoshi's like, I'll put you out, and stomps on him.
All right, here it is. Here's the
I'll save you,
one-liner for
bro.
that moment. The one-liner for that moment is like, oh, it looks like the dragonfly became a firefly.
Oh,
That's good, that's good,
there
that's
it is,
good.
there it is, there it is.
If you give me a week, I could write Doolittle.
Hey, that brings me to my next question, which is, if you could recast anyone in the movie, who would you recast?
I absolutely immediately thought the gorilla should be John Cena, right? He wrestles the tiger. John Cena, famous WWE wrestler, has no wrestling moves done in the movie if he's the polar bear.
See, I like his line of thinking. I think it should be The Rock. Dwayne The Rock Johnson
The
as
Rock
the
should
gorilla.
be the gorilla.
Yeah.
Why isn't The Rock in this movie?
Why isn't he?
He's in everything.
Because they had to get John Cena instead. Because this is before John Cena really blew up. This is right before.
And John Cena and The Rock cannot be in the same recording studio. They got big beef.
They do?
No.
Oh.
But I don't know. Why isn't The Rock in this movie? He says no to nothing.
That's not true.
He was in Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, this kind of has Jungle Cruise vibes.
It's big Jungle Cruise vibes.
Yeah.
I've never seen Jungle Cruise.
It's
If you hadn't made me do this podcast, I would not have seen Doolittle. So I'm gonna put that as like a non-factor.
So for you guys at home, next week I'm going to be on Mike's podcast watching Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, tune in every Thursday for my Jungle Thursday Jungle Cruise podcast, where we always watch Jungle Cruise. Doodle Tuesdays, Jungle Cruise Thursdays.
I just want Dwayne The Rock Johnson podcast.
All right, name the worst Dwayne The Rock Johnson. Name the worst Dwayne The Rock Johnson movie.
That's really tough.
I have my answer locked and loaded.
It's probably like the Tooth Fairy.
Tooth Fairy. We have a winner. The objectively right answer is Tooth Fairy.
Is that not Vin Diesel?
No, it is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
You're thinking of The Pacifier.
It must
The
be.
Pacifier was a bad movie, but it was essentially Tooth Fairy, except it was just like your Tooth Fairy is a CIA agent for no reason at all.
Well, no,
Is he actually a tooth fairy in the Tooth Fairy?
Yes, he's the real. It is Santa Claus. But
Oh, okay,
Tooth Fairy.
okay.
He kills the Tooth Fairy or something and becomes the Tooth Fairy.
I'm gonna have to check it out.
Drakes, dragons, and other dreams.
It's dragons, drakes, and other
Dragons,
dreams.
drakes, and other dreams.
Flying
as
with.
see also Tooth Fairy.
Flying with Dragons, Drakes, and Other Dreams by Dr. J. Doolittle.
DJ Doolittle.
DJ Doolittle.
That would be such a good mood album. Drake's Dragons and Other Dreams.
Dragons, Drakes, and Other Dreams.
Dragons, drakes, and other dreams. Flying
Flying
with,
with.
of course.
Flying with
DJ
Dragons, Drakes, and Other Dreams.
Parenthetical flying with. So I would recast John Cena as the gorilla instead of the polar bear. Are there any casting adjustments you two would make?
So can you recast the polar bear as well then?
I mean, why not Dwayne The Rock Johnson? He should be in this movie.
Yeah, no, that fits.
And then they could have like a little wrestler duo, Or John Goodman, I think, would make a good
He'd
polar
be
bear.
a good polar bear.
Yeah.
I have two
Somebody with
adjustments.
just like a really deep sort of powerful voice.
My first suggestion is I would recast Frank as Humphrey.
I'm on my way.
I hate to say it. I don't think it would impact the movie because that was a picture perfect Humphrey the Whale impression.
Thank you.
But let's see. I think I'd recast Robert Downey Jr. I don't think he should be Doolittle.
I think Kramer should be Doolittle. Kramer from, the time where he was playing Kramer.
I mean, the worst performance is Stubbins, right? Like,
Stubbins doesn't do that much in the movie.
I think it would be fun to cast Stubbins as like an adult.
He should be older.
Like, no, he's still 14, but he should be played by someone who's 25.
No, I think Stubbins should just be older. He should be a young man, like, 18 to like 22, like a young college-aged man who would like be in line to become a doctor.
He's studying animals or something in college, and he's coming from these bookie methods.
He should be like a med student type of person.
Yeah,
I got it. I would replace Stubbins with like one of the CW actors, like Robbie Amell, like the guy who I think that's the guy who plays Arrow, right?
I hate to monopolize the recasting, but Tom Holland is no longer the dog. He's
Stubbins.
RDJ's.
Yeah,
He's Stubbins. Oh, that's good. You're
Tom
right.
Holland.
Yes, the dog could be anybody.
I bet
it does not need to be Tom
They
Holland.
probably didn't do that because they were like, "Oh, we're coming out of Marvel and we want to distance ourselves from this Iron Man, Spider-Man thing." But it would have been way better if it was Tom Holland.
They already
as Stubbins.
have on-screen chemistry or whatever. They've worked together before. They would be a good pair for the movie.
They're already making Iron Man references with the dive suit.
Yeah.
So why don't we just go all the way?
Make Stubbins like more of an impact in the movie. Like give him a little bit more agency over what happens. Give him an actual arc to follow, and make him Tom Holland. The dog can be anybody. The dog doesn't need to be Tom Holland. Tom Holland's in the movie as a dog for like a total of 5 minutes.
I'll do it. I nominate myself.
Yeah, Frank is now the dog.
I'm Chip. Oh, it smells like. What's that smell? Elderberry? No. It smells like nightshade.
I'm revoking my nomination for Frank as the dog. I didn't believe that you could handle the 5 minutes of screen time and these very simple lines. You managed to blow it almost immediately.
I'm nominating
What a
myself.
spectacular failure.
I'm nominating myself as Doolittle then. If Frank's the dog, I'm Doolittle.
That ruins my whole trinity of who should replace who, though.
Right. Well, then Robert Downey Jr. will replace me on this podcast.
Yeah. Well, he's not allowed to do the Welsh accent, though.
It's no good.
He's got to leave the Welsh accent at Doolittle. He's not allowed to.
I'm the only human here.
It's an outrage.
Oh, it's a nightmare.
Oh, I love the "it's a nightmare" line. Like that is a good soundbite. That is like Princess Bride. To me, that's like Princess Bride level soundbite from a movie. It's a nightmare.
An accidental firing upon? Humans never change.
I think that if you're not careful, Universal's going to call you, Finn.
Yeah.
He's not doing the accent, so it's slightly better, but also, I wouldn't have to stand on any boxes. I'd just naturally be taller than everyone.
An accomplishment of modern movie making that they were able to make like every single scene. Robert Downey Jr. looks like the tallest person in the room.
Well, he's shown next to Lady Rose, and
Who's
they're
a child.
They're like the same size almost. He's like 1 inch taller than her.
Yeah, the Queen stayed in bed the whole movie because that would have broke the illusion that everybody in this universe is shorter than Robert Downey Jr.
That's true. Whenever he's like in the scene where he's fighting people, he instantly hits the ground because he knows if he's standing up,
Yeah,
they'll be
he'll
towering
lose his
over
presence.
him. Yeah.
Mike, you have any other notes or insights or first Doolittle viewing bits that you'd like to pop in?
I feel like we just got to drill down on who is this movie for, and I think I've come to the conclusion it's for preteen kids.
He's calling us kids.
I think it's for people that are like age 9 to 14 who would go see this like very childish movie, but would maybe think like the toilet humor is funny. Like
I don't think it is. I think it's for 6-year-olds that their parents take them to see the movie, and I think they don't laugh at they don't understand the dragon scene except for the big fart.
I was going to get to. I think it's for the toilet humor is for the preteen kids, and then just every age younger because it has talking animals, and any movie with talking animal, like a young kid is going to be glued to that no matter what's happening.
Oh my goodness.
I don't think they are.
You don't think so?
I don't know.
Do you not remember like Spy Dogs?
Yeah.
It was
guess
a movie
the
with
question
talking
is-
dogs, if you recall.
I think that's mostly right. I don't think it's for preteens. I think they're too old to find it funny.
I do, but this movie was not made by preteens for preteens. It's made by old people who are trying to guess what people will think is funny.
That's fair. That's fair.
They got it so wrong.
Yes, among other things, they got a lot wrong on this one.
So I already talked about what I did outside of Doolittle. What did you do this week? Please.
I have been learning jazz standards as a low-level jazz guitarist.
Oh.
That's cool.
So that has been fun for me to do in my free time.
I can't wait to have you sounding our...
We're going to have you score the Viewlittle.
Did Dr. Doolittle do a do-do?
The other movie I watched besides Ego was like the new Eddie Murphy movie on Netflix.
The new one?
Yeah.
Dr. Doolittle 3?
Yeah, that's the one. No, I don't know what it's called. It's like Jonah Hill, Eddie Murphy, Julie Lee-Dreyfus. It was okay. Was it like You People? Was it called You People?
Man, I don't know. I've gotten rid of social media, like cable. Like that's the problem with wanting to watch movies. You get rid of social media, cable, and all of a sudden you're no longer advertised what movies are out anymore.
That's fair. Frank, what have you been doing?
I watched Last Hurrah for Chivalry, which is a John Woo movie. It's a wuxia swordsman intrigue movie.
Wait, how old is that one? That's like one of his first ones, right?
It is one of his early ones. It's from 79.
Yeah, that movie rules.
It has, I think, my favorite depiction of a swordsman and my favorite bit in Kung Fu. The bit is the sleeping wizard. He's a swords master who fights while he's sleeping. It's very good. And the swordsman, the edition that I watched, the subtitles had his name is Green. He's a drunken swordsman, and
yeah,
he's a lot of fun. Well, Michael, would you recommend it?
Ooh, no, I would not.
Did you enjoy it?
Yes, in a way. Specifically for this experience, it was fun to hang out with you guys and watch Doolittle. But I would not do it
You
again.
hear that, Universal? Hey, Universal, you hear that? Here's what you should do. You should hire us to talk to everybody on the planet. They'll all watch Doolittle and enjoy it.
Yeah, I guess just hire you to be in the theater to just watch Doolittle with people, I guess, is what you wanted.
that's kind of my dream job. Yeah, is to watch Doolittle with people for money. Like if Universal's throwing down, like $5 an hour.
In a way, you are the world's only professional Doolittle watcher.
Amateur Doolittle watcher.
Amateur, professional,
until we get sponsored by Big Bugle.
or Mountain Dew Code Red.
We got a code red. Code red.
Did you enjoy this movie? Do you recommend it?
I enjoyed the experience of watching it. I do not recommend it. It's bad.
Here's what I recommend, folks.
Go watch Maki.
Yeah, go watch Maki or Iga. It's on Netflix as Iga. Go watch that right now. Turn off this podcast. But after we plug ourselves, don't turn it off yet. Do I recommend it? I do think there is something about watching it that's been fun. But
I want to change my answer to no, I did not have a good time. And
We got a code red. Code red.
and the reason is nobody told me there would be dragons was not in the movie, and I should have been warned.
nobody told me there'd be a dragon.
So no, I was very disappointed that I didn't get to see that.
So I did enjoy it. I do recommend it. Go buy 10 copies. Buy one for your friends, your family. Everyone you know should have a copy of this movie. And they should also have a 10-pound bag of bugles.
And a 2-pound backpack of Leeks.
We got a code red. Code red.
So I think that brings us to the end of the pod. Frank, where can you find us?
You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts. We're also on YouTube, and we have a Letterboxd profile where we're tracking our reviews, so you can check that out if you'd like. We also have a list on our Letterboxd profile that lists every movie we've mentioned so far in the series. So if you hear one and you're wondering what it was, you can go check out the lists. They're in the show notes, and you can find us that way. You can also email us if you have any questions. That is also in the show notes. And that's it for me. I'm Frank. I'm out of here.
I'm Finn.
I'm Mike, and I'm on my way.
Okay, I'm gonna retcon something real quickly. I would like to recast Kevin as Gabriel Iglesias, and instead of being a squirrel, he's a chihuahua.
I don't know about that, Finn. That's a bold choice. The Chihuahua gets shot and has code red poured into his ventricles.
How does the Chihuahua get to the English forest?
It doesn't matter. It's a talking animal movie.
It's gonna have Gabriel Iglesias.
He is the talking animal. Him and George Lopez. If they are in a
George Lopez, like I feel like that's a more straightforward choice. Gabriel Iglesias, though,
he's a chihuahua in every talking animal movie.
Is he?
I feel like so. Like any movie from like 2005 onward.
Beverly Hills Chihuahua and Beverly Hills Chihuahua 2.
But anyway, I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just thinking a talking animal movie, you have to have him or George Lopez. Hopefully both. I think the reason why this movie was a box office failure.
Please get down to the reason.
They did not